All right, good to go. Conor Gains.
Hey, buddy.
That was awesome, man.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Thanks for having us.
So where are you from?
I grew up in Cambridge, Ontario, and I'm here playing with some local fellas that I grew up playing with since I was a kid. And my buddy JD and I have been playing since we were like 12 years old. Took guitar lessons from the same guy, John McKinley. Shout out John, Darius, and Donovan, all the boys. And they're a great musical family. They've been doing an open mic, and so when we were kids, we just went out and played all the blues. And he used to really like Jeff Beck a lot, so we'd play a lot of Jeff Beck back in the day. I remember hearing like Beck's Bolero and Cause We've Ended as Lovers and all that stuff. And rest in peace, Jeff.
Oh, man.
Thanks for the tunes. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And like, that's a good segue. Like with Jeff Beck, like who were your early influences? Like when you were learning guitar?
Well, like right out of the gates, I was, I remember I got my first like CD that I got because I was growing up in the early 2000s. I started playing guitar, and so I was playing a lot of like Zeppelin. Zeppelin 2 was my first record, and it was incredibly transformative to listen to Jimmy Page play the guitar. And then just loved the way that Angus Young played blues inspired rock music. That just, he put a lot of different types of music into a really digestible box for a lot of younger guitar players. So bought an SG, and then quickly got into like more metal music. So I played a lot of Randy Rhoads was a huge early guy for me. And then from there, I went into playing blues when I met John McKinley, because he had this blues open mic, and I realized that a lot of the guys that were going to this open mic were able to improvise, and something that I couldn't do at the time. So when I heard them just making up music and playing just with these kind of scales and the kind of simple like 3 chords, it just opened up this whole world of like finding my own sound. And at first I just sounded like a little white boy trying to play Stevie Ray Vaughan, just like any other like lawyer dad or whatever.
Yeah.
And then quickly from there got into like folk music and like roots and Americana, and I loved that music, and that's kind of been my bag ever since. And
I want to talk about that because you have a unique writing style. You know what I mean? Like it's not your standard A, B, C, like it's not your standard. It's so free flowing, like from when I listen to it, man. And so when you were really getting into writing, was it that folk influence that really pulled you in, or, you know, because you do have a unique style of writing. It's amazing.
Well, thank you for saying so.
Of course, man.
Yeah, it felt like, when I was about 13, 14, I started listening to a lot of Bright Eyes, Conor Oberst, and a lot of like the kind of folky stuff, and a lot of songs that had maybe 10 verses and no chorus, and fell in love with kind of avant-garde approach to writing a song. A lot of my favorite Bob Dylan songs are just ramblings, and there's no like one of my favorite songs is Isis by Bob Dylan, which is a great example of that. It just keeps going, A, G, D, A, and it's just a story, and there's no repeated kind of hook at all. And not that there's anything wrong with having like a repeated hook. I think that I just listened to a great podcast with Rick Rubin interviewing Jason Isbell.
Of course.
And that's the Broken Record podcast. It's really heavy, and I loved that Rick Rubin was asking him about the kind of repetition in songs. He's like, I don't know. I noticed you don't have a lot of songs that repeat the same thing over again. And Isbell said, yeah, I don't. And then they proceeded to kind of go on and realize that a couple of his songs did have something like that. Like for one of my songs, I've got a song that goes, I've been looking for your heart. And it says it twice in a row. And so like there's some songs that have like a line like that, or like a kind of home base that you come back to. And I find some of my favorite tunes have that kind of ability to have a concise idea, and then the concept changes meaning depending on the verse. Like one song that comes to my mind is another one called A Little Bit of Everything by Dawes. Do you know that track?
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs.
We're all big Dawes fans.
I think that's such a beautifully written song. In the first verse, he's talking about how this guy that's about to jump off of a bridge, and he's like, why are you going to do it? And he says, it's a little bit of everything. And he proceeds to tell him what it is, like the mountains, the fog, etc. And the second verse is this guy, old man in a buffet line, who's talking about what he wants to, he's like, it goes into his background about how he lost his son. And then it goes into this kind of concept of what do you want the waitress says, "What do you want?" And he says, "A little bit of everything." And so like the meaning of that kind of sentence changes, but it's such a simple sentence. And the third verse is about this woman who's inviting people out to her wedding, and so she's got all these people, and the husband's saying like, "Hey, what do you need?" And he says it's like, love is just a little bit of everything, like the way you joke, the way you ache. And he goes on to say a bunch of stuff. And then at the end, he says, like, it's a little bit of everything. It's the matador and the bull, the suggested daily dosage and the red moon when it's full, all that stuff. Like, so I love songs that kind of, they get you invested on and thinking you know what the song's about, and then kind of changing it over a little bit. Yeah.
Pull the wool over your eyes.
Yeah.
But man, it's you can hear that in your songwriting. It is.
Oh, thank you.
It feels so free flowing, but I know how much thought's into it. You know what I mean? Like you can tell.
Sometimes
it feels okay, of course.
Sometimes just like, this is
some of the best songs,
easiest,
man. No,
whatever it is. Yeah.
They just come to you.
Yeah.
What's next for you? Like, do you have anything coming up, or just kind of working away in the woodshed? And
yeah, well, we've been playing a bunch of shows. Just did some stuff in Toronto, and
you live in Toronto, right?
Yeah, well, I've been living in Toronto for about 8 years. Just relocated back to my hometown in Cambridge, and it's been nice to just kind of have a quieter scene, and nice to go from loud festivals to more of a laid back scene when I'm done at the gigs. It's nice to just go home and have silence, and my dog can run around in the yard better.
Unreal, man.
Yeah.
So if you got some gigs coming up, and just keep writing, man, and we hope to have you back at the Bunkers soon. We all loved you.
I would love to come back.
Yeah.
It's a sweet spot you guys got going on here.
You guys are always welcome. Conor Gains, everybody.
Thanks,
brother.
Thanks, buddy.
Muchas gracias.